Mark and Meleika, here we go again on Chicago Hill. And Mark, you're doing a good job. Sox cap, that's my team. I am a Sox fan. I drink with the Cubs, but good choice. Meleika, what's going on? You got your red lipstick on?
Yes, I do.
Oh
Well,
my!
you might see me get my Beyonce effect going on, throughout this show today.
Well, Beyonce, you are Beyonce. Beyonce ain't got nothing on you. Care what nobody say.
To pick up a theme of a previous show, this is our example of black excellence here.
Hello, and you know what? And we even brought some vanilla ice in. What's up? This is Ebony and Ivory, right?
That's what I think the lead-in music should be. And Meleika, and I don't know if this will make it into the recording, but Representative Ford and I were talking that what we need to do is, you remember that show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? You know what I'm talking about? Well, we need a white eye for the black guy. And what we were talking about is that you two host a show that is essentially just ask the white guy what they're thinking.
Yeah, that's
kind of
really
a show
good.
to have on WVON where people can call in and hear what's in a white guy's head when they need an explanation.
Meleika, what you think of that? Actually, that's good, but guess what I like to know, Meleika? I want black people to ask the white guy, but I didn't tell Mark, we need to know what the white people thinking about black people. Uh-oh. What you think, Meleika?
Yeah.
You want to know?
Well, that's another show. And we do want to know what y'all think.
Yeah. I would love to hear that. I just recently had an experience. I won't say where, because I don't know where it's going to go. But as soon as I walked into that office, that receptionist, because not many of us walk into that office in this particular part of North Shore. I'll just say it, Highland Park. Mark, are you familiar with Highland Park?
Are you kidding me? That's where most of my people are from. I'm the proverbial black sheep because we live in Oak Park. That's like, not on the North Shore, so we're not in the club. So I know how it feels. Yeah, I'd probably get the eye if I walked into that office too. No.
Well, I got the feeling they didn't see too many of black people walking in that office. And
that's true, and and that's where you look out the window, you see a black guy jogging by. Never mind that his mom and dad might be millionaires with a house down the street. Yeah. You look out the window and you see a black guy jogging by, and you see where this is going. And so, I actually think that's a useful kind of a conversation to have, because so much of it is about difference rather than particular kind of difference. I think difference makes humans uncomfortable to begin with, and then you add race to that uncomfortableness with somebody who's not like me. And in sort of in the human brain, things are still tribal. I remember a psychiatrist talking about the lizard brain, sort of the first instincts we inherited that are still locked in our brain, which is like fight and flight, flight and fight, or whatever it is. And that's where, that first image of something different hits. And there are sort of unconscious alarm bells that go off in people's heads even before they can conceptualize it. They're uncomfortable. And that's, of course, what we call unconscious bias.
Well, Meleika, I had an incident just, I think it was Friday. So I went to a restaurant in Chicago, and I go into this restaurant, and, I don't like to dress up. I had on my all black, and I had on a hoodie, and I actually was standing right at the host table, right there in his face. And I'm just waiting for him to say how many, and never said anything. But soon as a white man walks in the room, in the restaurant, he immediately perked up and said, how many? So I was invisible. So I was calm. And so when he came back, the white guy actually said, oh, we're not ready. What the fuck? You give us a moment to breathe. And he said, well, you were looking at your phone. So I didn't know. I said, well, he was looking at his phone too, because he was checking to see where his guests were. And I said, you know, I don't understand what that was about. He said, he looked me in my eyes and I looked him back in his eyes and I said, let's go. He takes me to the seat and he says, you know, I'm Mexican, so I don't discriminate against anybody. I said, let me tell you something. You need to be conscious. That's all I have to tell you. I'm not going to fight with you. Just be conscious. So he comes back later and gives me a hug and say, you know, dessert's on me.
There you go, black man. I
Right.
hope that satisfies you.
No, and not, you know, I'm sorry, but dessert's on me. You know, and I know it doesn't hurt me anymore because I'm expecting this, but it's going to happen all the time. We're invisible. And you know what, Meleika? Sometimes we are even invisible to our own people.
Oh yeah. What do they say? Some skin folk aren't kinfolk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh, yeah. So
I tell you one thing.
Like that, when you go to something like that, sometimes it depends on, you're thinking, okay, here's a black person that's going to hear me out. They're going to understand what I just experienced. But often, I've been finding, oftentimes, no, they're going to look out for their job.
Let me ask you guys. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to cut you off. Let me ask you guys something about what's in my head, in the white guy's head, because I was just thinking to myself, how would I have handled that incident? And you know what would have been different for me if I had sort of a black person and a white person walking around the same time? I would, by default, this is the way my brain is wired. Here's what have happened in the back of my head, and I'm just thinking about it. The black person is going to expect to not feel as welcomed as a white person. And so I'm going to make a point of addressing the black person first and helping them first, so that there is no question about who I was welcoming and who I was addressing and who I was trying to help first. And that's sort of my bias because I'm expecting that level of discomfort. And you all know, based on my own, background as an immigrant, I'm really conscious of that kind of thing. But tell me, would that be, if I'm doing that and now you know what's in my head and I'm taking you first, Representative Ford, does that bother you at all? Do you welcome that kind of treatment?
You know what? I don't want that treatment. All I want is the right treatment. I come in first, you recognize me, you take me. He comes in first, you recognize him, you take him. That's the way it's got to be. I don't need special treatment. And that's what we have to realize, that black people are not looking for special treatment. We're so far in the negative where we are treated unfairly that we just want to get to neutral with our brothers and sisters.
See, I gotta actually disagree with you about the treatment of black people. I think things have been behind for so long. We need to sort of prioritize it to catch up. Our good friend Leader Mary Flowers calls it positive action, not affirmative action. That's positive action.
Yeah.
And so I actually think that if two people walked in and one of them was black, one of them was white, one of the first things that would have happened if I took the white person, the black person would have thought, of course, he's going to help the white guy first. And to me, having this context and having, quote unquote, black friends, this is a very real issue to me. And so I feel like some positive bias, if you will, positive action is actually not a bad idea. I don't think it's bad of me if you walk in around the same time to go out of my way to make sure that the person who doesn't look like me, or maybe most of the patrons in the restaurant, feels comfortable and welcome and appreciated. And so that's really interesting because you say, I just want to be treated like everybody else. And I guess my sense is that we got to catch up before we go to that.
But we're never going to catch up, Meleika, are we, if we don't get to neutral? So we gotta really catch up, get to neutral, so that we can now, because we're not even visible.
I guess the point is, if you stay at neutral, though, you're not going to get much. I mean, we need to get more than you're getting now, is my point. Sorry, Meleika.
Oh, no. I love what you're saying. It's good to hear what a white person is thinking.
Some white people, some white people may think, oh, the dishwasher should have used the back door. Some people might think that too. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying that my own conscious bias would be to recognize the potential discomfort and the potential sort of lack of value that person might feel, and think, of course, he's going to take care of the white guy first. And so mine would have been to go out of my way to prove that person's assumption wrong.
And you know what? And oftentimes you'll get, oh, well, black people get too sensitive. It wasn't like that. She didn't mean it like that. He didn't mean it like that. But, in my situation, I walked into this office. I was needing some help. I wasn't thinking race. I wasn't thinking anything. I walked in and expected just service. How wrong of me to just expect just
See,
service.
that's what I'm agreeing with. Yeah, that's right, Meleika. Give me service. And you know what? I am really, really all about everyone being treated equally and fairly. And Mark, you're absolutely right. We are owed, some repair, and we do need white people to be conscious about the societal, norm right now and change it. And it does take extra positive action to do that. But if I'm fighting for people to be treated fairly, the restaurant is not the place to ask for reparations. The restaurant is the place to say, I come in and I get a spot because it's available. I come in and you see the order of your patron that's coming in and you take them accordingly. That's business. And I'm all good with that. Of course, I know black people deserve some reparations in this country.
And what do you say when you take the time to actually report it? Because oftentimes we just let things go. Like, okay, I don't have time to deal with this. It's in God's hands. I don't have time for this. But, sometimes I will take the time to report a situation. And they're like, why did you turn it into race? Because I know that that's what it was. So
Yeah.
what are you all, Mark, from a white man's point of view, like, and then Rep Ford, how do you handle that? Because the woman on the phone was like, well, I don't know that you're black. She's been with us for years. There's not a problem. I say, you don't have too many of me walking through your door. So how do you know her customer service? How do you know what her customer service is like with people like me walking through the door? And she couldn't answer that. And she was like, you're turning this into race, and it's not race. It's not about race, but I know it. So how do you get that across? Like, as soon as she saw me and she mispronounced my name, like intentionally, I corrected her. She had a problem with me correcting her about my name. She just gave me a problem. Then she put my business all out there in the open, and I left and I needed help, but it wasn't about race.
That's what this critical race theory is about. And people think that critical race theory is putting down a race to build up another. That's not what critical race theory is. It's a conscious effort to make sure that people recognize, one, their level of awareness, two, why certain demographics in our society are in the position that they're in. It didn't just happen because Black people were lazy, because believe me, Black people are not and have never been lazy. Otherwise, guess what? We will still be under the control of the British Empire. We would not be able to separate and be a nation that we are today. And so I think that if we all take a step back and realize that we all have biases, and if your feelings were that you didn't treat me right, and I tell you that I believe that it was about race, how are you going to tell me that my feelings are not right? That's disrespect, and we could never move forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let me just say this, and this is why I sort of want to go back to something that you said, Representative Ford, a little earlier, which is we're not asking for special treatment when I walk into a restaurant. And to me, that's what the idea of critical race theory is all about. That's the idea of what implicit bias is all about, that nobody should have to ask. Okay. But I also feel that those of us who are not Black, and particularly those of us who are white, cannot be just sort of right in the middle, equal. You either are or you aren't. And so part of what I'm saying is that maybe some of us have extra obligation to go out of our way to assume and understand somebody might be uncomfortable or expect negative treatment, and to do better than that. And so I want to delight them positively. Okay. I want to surprise people positively. And so to me, in my white mind, things are not at zero. Things are not, well, nobody expects anything, and we should just, everybody's equal and should be treated the same way. I actually am not sure I believe that anymore. I think people who are less equal need to be treated more equal in order to balance the scales.
I think you're right, but for me, I'm not going to tell white people treat me special because I'm Black. I'm going to tell white people treat me the way you would treat your own brother and sister that's white. Now, white people, I think you all should come together and say, guys, girls, we got a problem in society. We've harmed and hurt Black people so much that we should come together and figure out a way to heal the situation. And one way we could do it is be positive with our actions, to see our brothers and sisters of a different skin color, to see them. Now, remember, not just to see them, but remember, Black people tend to be invisible to white people sometimes. And I'll just close with, even the First Lady, when she was the First Lady, she talked about a time when she went hiking and she had her dogs with her. And it was disturbing to her because here she is, the First Lady, and no one even looked her in her eyes. They didn't know it was Michelle Obama. They went straight to the dogs and they loved the dogs. They didn't even look at the person that was walking the dogs. And she said she felt less than human because the white people didn't even know that I was the First Lady. They didn't even see me. They saw my dogs.
I believe it.
See, that's so interesting because to me, within that context, there is a different thought. And again, obviously, you cannot argue with the person whose perception is whatever it is. And obviously, you have to take the first lady at 100% value and say, sorry that happened that way. But to me, see, it's sort of opposite. Sometimes I want the Black person to be treated like, I don't want people recognizing difference within the context where all of us are just hanging out and the same. So to me, if they saw a Black person walking dogs and they didn't come up and pet those dogs and they didn't say, oh, what cute dogs, I would actually take that as sort of not even my cute dogs could bring these people around to me and make them interested. So to me, the fact that they didn't recognize the pigmentation, but did what people, look, Michelle Obama is not any different than any white guy who takes a puppy to the beach. Okay. We all expect the same reaction. You want attention from the opposite sex, you bring a cute puppy with you. It's sort of a trope. But there is some, whenever I see somebody with a cute dog, I focus on the dog. And
Yeah.
To me, that may not necessarily be a negative thing, but there it is.
I think that I took her statement as a life experience and not just that time, because I kind of said, well, I do know that that people always love dogs, but she had another experience. She was with the CIA, the Secret Service, with her girls, and they go into this ice cream shop, and it's Michelle Obama and her two girls, just happy as could be, just like anybody else that's going to get ice cream. And she's standing there and nothing. They didn't even see her. Then some other people with lighter skin came in and they said, hi, can I take your order? This is the first lady. She said, I didn't bring the CIA in to take our orders. I wanted my girls and I to just go in and get ice cream. But the first lady was invisible to the people that worked for the ice cream shop. So I think the moral of the story is Black people can't be invisible. Look at our beautiful skin. You could see us. Please.
We're hard to miss. We are very hard to miss.
Well, and see, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, because my reaction would have been to say, oh, look, a Black family, I'm going to make sure those Black girls are treated like royalty so that they have the experience that they deserve, and their mom too. But honestly, my focus would have been on those young Black women to do whatever I could to serve them, because that was my job, to make them welcome and serve them. And I would do that with all customers. But I can tell you right now that given my own sensibility, like I said before, my inclination would have been to overbalance in the other direction. Okay. And to say, I'm going to take them first. I'm going to take them right away. And by the way, I'm going to treat those young women special because more people ought to, so that they grow up understanding what their real value is. And, tell me, maybe that's just like way over the top of what goes on in my brain.
No, I don't think so. I'll say I had another experience, and it was in Highland Park. It was at a Starbucks. Me and Highland Park, I should just stay away from Highland Park, shouldn't I?
Keep teaching them. Don't stay away.
Well, no, you and I go together, so I can pull them aside and explain. It'll be like a undercover sting operation.
Well, it was interesting because at this Starbucks, I was the only customer that walked in, and I was the only one, and they completely ignored me. And I'm signaling to him. He's ignoring me.
He's signaling? Lord,
yeah,
have
I'm like,
mercy.
Then the white woman walked in, and we're waiting, and he turns around, he sees her, and he says, oh, how can I help you?
Oh.
And then she said, well, she was before me.
Right.
And then he just looked like with hate. And I said, I turned to her and I said, thank you. I said, I'm out. And I left. And
I would
she
never ignore you, Meleika. Look at you with that red lipstick. How are they going to ignore you? That fine hair and that beautiful smile. Woo!
Well,
I would have said, oh my God, is that Beyonce who just walked in? Can I get her autograph?
Well, to him, what do I look like? To him, I don't know what I.
Well, and see, and this is why my inclination would be to absolutely urge every white person in that situation to overreact in the opposite direction.
Oh, Mark, I might, I think you have to do that so that they can get to zero.
Yeah.
You know what? You have to overdo it to just do it right because we're human. I'm with you on that. But remember, the black man is saying, however you do it, just do it. Just do it.
Let me ask you this. I've seen black people I've seen black service people prioritize white people over other black people with some significant regularity. What is that about?
Tell me what that is about. That happened to me at I won't be calling out these brands, but yeah, this black, I needed her to help me with my bottle of wine to, she had to come do the keying thing. If you buying liquor and check my ID, all that at the self-serve checkout. And I'm waiting. My thing is beeping, beep, beep for assistance. And then she went to the white guy next to me and his register was not saying he needed assistance. And he said, I didn't need any assistance. Wow. She was like, oh. And she said, well, I wasn't putting him before you. I was like, yes, you did.
Wow.
Yes, you did. It was North Shore for not Highland Park, but close to Highland Park.
So yeah. Mark and Meleika, the moral of the story should be our wrap up. How about who's going first? What's the moral of this story today? Mark, you want to go first?
Actually, the moral of the story is that I'm more comfortable with my attitude at the end of this conversation than I was even at the beginning. And I'm even more comfortable stating that attitude that we need positive action. And the moral of the story is, you know what? If you have to choose, if you have to make a choice, choose to do more. Choose to do it sooner. Choose to do it quicker, choose to do it better than you would for a white customer, because we have to get back to even. And the fact is that, I stand in line, and when I'm not noticed, I get annoyed, but I don't get humiliated. Right? I get annoyed because they're just not seeing me or ignoring me or whatever. And believe it happens to white people too. But the reality is that's what we need to get at, is that you're not ever going to be not annoyed when somebody is not waiting on you when you walk up to a cash register. But the reality is that it shouldn't be even a thing to think they're doing something or not doing something because I'm black. And until we get to that point, I feel like I have an obligation to overreact, to go out of my way, and to talk about it. I mean, most white people would not be able to have this conversation in this sort of honest, open, and direct way. And so I think it behooves all of us that can and should. We should go out of our way. And to me, that is part of what reparations is all about, because it's not just financial. It's making a whole community, a whole race feel as they're equal, as if they belong, as they're special. They are loved and they're appreciated. And you can't just do that doing the same thing we've done always. So to me, the moral of the story is, hey, fellow white guys, go out of your way. You know what? If you have two people walk into the store at relatively the same time, help the person of color first. Delight them. Do something that they would probably in their head think would be the complete opposite. Well, of course, they're going to take the white guy first. Change their mind. Change your mind. Open your mind, because we cannot treat everyone as if they're the absolute same, because some people need a little bit more to be same. That's what equity versus equality is all about, right? And we need equity, not just equality.
That's absolutely right. And I'll give mine. I know Meleika is going to slam it at the end. But the moral of this story to me is that, one, the business community must recognize that not having qualified people work for them is harmful to their business. And they should make sure that people in their business, unless they're not in the right space, understanding how to treat people equally. So I would say that this nation needs to make sure that we have LBJ's moments all the time. LBJ always, when it was down to the voter rights, he went over and above with positive action. So ask yourself if you can have an LBJ moment every day of your life where you see a wrong and you go above with positive action to teach people how to make society better. That's my moral of the story.
I just would want to break in to say, don't wait until you see a wrong. Don't listen to Representative Ford. Don't wait until you see a wrong. Do a right, even if there is no wrong.
Always do right. It's always the right time to do what's right.
Yes. And I wish we had more white people that thought like Mark. And we do. It's like, you all need to
We're out of here.
And have a meeting and be like, look, cut the crap and just treat people as human beings, pretty much that's my closing. We are human beings. I know people think that we're oversensitive and everything is a race issue. We pull the race card, but look, we're walking into a business and we're not thinking race. We're thinking service. I'm here for a service. And then when we're confronted, because we know what it looks like, we know what it smells like, we know it when it's happening, we know it. And that's when we say, yes, this was about race, when all we wanted to do was give you our money and get some service. That's what we were thinking. People, I just treat everyone as human beings, please. And to those of color out there who experience the racism, you have to take time to call it out. And white people, when you see it, call it out, because they'll listen to you before they listen to our report. You have to call it out. And that's my club.
Well, this has been another episode of Healing a Nation. See you guys next week. Ebony and Ivory. I'll see you guys later.
All right.